students. Hope you all are safe and doing well. The topic that we'll be focusing today is nutrition in animals. And nutrition in animals is mostly heterotrophic. It is known to all of you. Though we have been using this term nutrition, but have you ever wondered that what is the meaning of nutrition? Well, nutrition is a process of procuring food, but we can generalize it by saying that it includes nutrient requirement, mode of ingestion of food, and its utilization in the body. Both plants and animals require food to carry out their life processes. But the difference is that plants being autotrophs can synthesize their own food, whereas animals or human beings, those who are heterotrophs, they cannot synthesize their own food. So directly or indirectly, we have to depend on the autotrophs in terms of getting our food. But the process or the system through which this food is absorbed in your body and the nutrients actually is absorbed in your body is known as the digestive system. So today we'll be learning about digestive system, and the contents of this video include digestive system in humans, digestive system in ruminants or the grass-eating animals, and digestion and feeding habits in unicellular organism, that is amoeba. Hope the explanatory video will help you in understanding the chapter. So let's begin.
What is animal nutrition? It is a process in which food is ingested and is used for growth, metabolism, and helps in repairing the damaged body parts. This slide shows the complete diagram of human digestive system, where the entire process starts from the buccal cavity and ends in anus. The digestive system includes the gastrointestinal tract and the accessory digestive organs. The gastrointestinal tract or the alimentary canal is a continuous tube that extends from the mouth to the anus, and the organs of this gastrointestinal tract include the oral cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. Before we describe the human digestive system in details, let us learn about the functions of the digestive system that are involved in developing the entire process. First starts the ingestion, which means taking of food into the mouth. Then comes secretion, which means release of water, acid, buffers, and enzymes into the lumen of the alimentary canal. Mixing and propulsion, which is the third step that involves the churning and propulsion of food through the gastrointestinal tract or the alimentary canal, whatever you say. Next is the digestion that involves the mechanical and chemical breakdown of food. After that comes absorption, that is passage and assimilation of digested products from the alimentary canal into the blood. And at last comes the defecation, which helps in the elimination of feces from the gastrointestinal tract. We will now describe how food gets digested when it passes through the various parts of the alimentary canal. The first sequence starts with mouth or buccal cavity. Digestion starts in mouth with a breakdown of large pieces of food into smaller particles, and this cutting, tearing, and pulverization of food is done by the activity of teeth. Saliva secreted by the salivary gland contains mucus, which helps to moisten and lubricates the food particles. Saliva begins digestion of carbohydrates in the mouth through the action of salivary amylase that breaks polysaccharides down into disaccharides. Disaccharide means when two molecules of simple sugars are linked together. Next is pharynx and esophagus. Pharynx receives a bolus from the oral cavity and passes it into the esophagus. Swallowing occurs in the pharynx, and during swallowing, food normally enters the esophagus because their air passages are blocked. The esophagus is a portion of the gastrointestinal tract that contracts the pharynx to the stomach. It is a muscular tube which is of approximately 25 centimeters long. Remember, the esophagus plays no role in the chemical digestion of food. Its sole purpose is to carry the slightly digested food from the mouth to the stomach. The food coming from mouth moves down through esophagus by peristalsis. Let us know how it happens. When the food enters esophagus at the top end, the muscles in the walls of esophagus start alternate contractions and relaxations, producing a wave-like movement which pushes the food downwards towards the stomach. While the same action is replayed vice versa, that is, the food in that case moves in the opposite direction, that is, from your stomach to the mouth by antiperistaltic effect, which eventually results in vomiting. Then comes the stomach, which plays an important role. The stomach is a sac-like organ that is located between the esophagus and the small intestine. Its functions are to store, dissolve, and partially digest the food particles and to regulate the rate at which the stomach's contents empty into the small intestine. The wall of the stomach has deep folds. Muscular wall of stomach churns and mixes the food with gastric juices which is secreted by the gastric glands, and the inner lining of stomach secretes mucus, HCl and digestive juices. Let me explain you elaborately about their functions which will help you to understand. Mucus, it protects the lining of stomach from its own secretions of hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid, it kills any bacteria which may enter into the stomach with your food. It makes the medium in the stomach acidic, which is highly essential and actively required for the proper action of digestive juices or proteins. Gastric juice contains an enzyme which is called pepsin. It digests proteins. That is, it breaks down the proteins present in your food into simpler substances. This partially digested food then goes from the stomach into the small intestine. Then comes the function of small intestine. You all must be wondering why it is named so. The small intestine is named for its small diameter. It is a long, narrow tube which is about 7.5 meters long and is a highly supercoiled structure. The partially digested food from stomach comes into small intestine. The small intestine receives bile from the liver and pancreatic juices from the pancreas via the duct. Bile, it emulsifies fat, and this emulsification causes fat droplets to disperse in water. Then the pancreas secretes pancreatic juices. It breaks down the food into fatty acids and glycerol, and it also breaks down the starch, carbohydrate, and proteins into simpler forms. Hence, the enzymes in pancreatic juice and enzymes produced by the intestinal wall complete the process of food digestion. The intestine has a slightly basic pH because pancreatic juice contains sodium bicarbonate which neutralizes chyme. The wall of the small intestine contains finger-like projections which is called villi, and each villus is a finger-like fold of mucosa that projects into the intestinal lumen. The surface of each villus is covered with a layer of epithelial cells whose surface membranes form small projections which is known as microvilli. The combination of these villi and microvilli increases the small intestine's surface area and the products of digestion are absorbed into the blood capillaries and the lacteals of the villi. It absorbs about 90% of the nutrients and water that pass through the digestive system, and blood carries this absorbed food materials to the cells in all the parts of the body. And in the cells, food is used for energy, growth, and repair. The entire process is called assimilation. The undigested food that cannot be absorbed in the small intestine then passes into the large intestine. In this slide, you can see the image of the large intestine, how in actual it looks like. The large intestine is shorter in length but is larger in diameter than the small intestine and is about 1.5 meters long. It does not produce digestive enzymes, it does only absorb water, salts, and some vitamins. The large intestine absorbs most of the water from the undigested food material, and due to the removal of the water, the undigested food becomes semi-solid. It stores the undigested food material for some time in the rectum until it is eliminated through the anus. And lastly, when the semi-solid waste is passed out from your body through the anus in the form of feces, it's called egestion. And with this ends the entire process of the digestive system. Now comes the functions of the accessory digestive organs, which includes your teeth, tongue, and salivary glands. Teeth, it helps to cut, tear, and pulverize food to reduce solids to the smaller particles for swallowing. This slide will help you in identifying the different types of teeth present in your mouth. Before your body can utilize the food which you have taken, it has to be broken down into simpler substances, else the essential nutrients cannot be absorbed by your body. So, the teeth plays a major role in it, and there are of 4 types. First comes the incisors, which are the chisel-shaped teeth and is present at the front of your mouth. It helps in biting and cutting the food, and there are total 4 incisors in the center of each jaw. Second comes the canines. They are large, pointed teeth just behind the incisors, and they help in piercing and tearing your food. There are 2 canines in each jaw, one behind the left incisor and the other behind the right incisor. Third is the premolar, which is present just behind the canines on each side, and they are large, flat surfaces that helps in chewing and grinding the food, and there are total 4, 2 on each side. At last comes the molar set, which is present behind the premolars, and they have a larger surface area than the premolars but similar in function to that of the premolars. There are total 6 molars, 3 on each side. As you can see in the diagram, it is clearly appointed. But remember, this molar set of teeth can only be found in the permanent set of teeth, not in the temporary set, which is called the milk teeth that often falls at the ages of 6 and 8 years. Then comes the function of tongue, which maneuvers food for mastication, shapes food into a bolus, detects taste and touch sensations, and initiates digestion. It is a fleshy muscular organ attached at the back to the floor of the buccal cavity and is free at the front and can be moved in all directions. Here you can see the tongue map that reflects the different taste buds with different colors. After this comes the function of the salivary glands, which is most important. The salivary glands secrete a watery liquid called saliva. They are located in several areas around the mouth and have ducts that are connected to the upper and lower jaw. This ensures that saliva evenly coats the inner lining of the mouth. Saliva is a mixture of water, mucus, antibacterial substances, and digestive enzymes that helps to moisten and dissolve food. So, whenever we start chewing any foods, we are actually activating our salivary glands in preparation for the breakdown of our meal. Now, let us learn about some of the involuntary activities that occur in our body. We all get hiccups, but why do we get hiccups? Let us learn. Hiccups are a sudden involuntary contractions of the diaphragm muscle. Hiccups come when a person eats or drinks something too quickly. The stomach below the diaphragm gets disturbed and the diaphragm pulls down and it contracts, which causes difficulty in breathing. And the windpipe closes for a moment and prevents the air to enter into the lungs, and this causes the formation of that hiccup sound. Next is the dental caries or tooth decay, which is a common oral problem almost seen in everyone. Tooth decay is actually the destruction of your tooth enamel. It's a hard outer layer of your teeth. Plaque, a sticky film of bacteria, it constantly forms on your teeth when you eat or drink foods containing sugars. The bacteria in plaque produce acids that attack your tooth enamel, and the stickiness of the plaque keeps these acids in contact with your teeth, and over time the enamel can break down. This is when cavities can form, and when this cavity reaches the pulp cavity of the tooth which contains the nerves, our tooth becomes painful and we get toothache. Diarrhea. It is a very common in India, particularly amongst children. Diarrhea is usually caused by an infection in the intestines. It's a common illness. It's generally caused by microorganisms leading to food poisoning or indigestion. This food poisoning is caused when toxins made by bacteria in food isn't handled, stored, or cooked safely. Hence, the loss of water and salts from the body of a person through watery stools is called dehydration, which makes a person immensely weak. It can be prevented by having a solution of sugar and salt in a clean water repeatedly, which is also known as ORS, that is oral rehydration solution. ORS, it helps to make up the loss of water and salt in the body which has been drawn out during a dehydration process. That gives energy which helps in the speedy recovery. Digestion in grass eating animals or ruminants. The animals, such as cow, have a special stomach to digest the tough cellulose carbohydrate present in grasses. Stomach of a cow is large and consists of four compartments. The first compartment of the cow's stomach is the biggest and it is called rumen. When cow eats grasses, they do not chew it, rather swallows the grass quickly with little chewing and stores it into the rumen. The rumen contains cellulose digesting bacteria which helps to digest the cellulose but is partially digested in the rumen, and this partially digested food is called cud. After some time, the cud from the rumen is brought back to the mouth of the cow in a small amount. In this time, the cow chews the food thoroughly, and the process by which the cud, means the partially digested food, is brought back from the stomach to the mouth of the animal and is chewed again. And this process is called rumination. After this process, The chewed cud does not go back to the rumen, rather, it goes into the other compartments of the cow's stomach and then to the small intestine for complete digestion and absorption. At last comes the feeding habits in amoeba or digestion in amoeba. Amoeba is a single-celled microscopic organism which have a cell membrane, round, dense nucleus and many small bubble-like vacuoles in its cytoplasm. Here, the vacuoles are of two types, food vacuoles and contractile vacuoles. Food vacuoles, it consists of bubble of water containing the food particle captured by amoeba, and the contractile vacuole is a bubble of liquid. It controls the amount of water present in the body of amoeba. But the most important feature is that it has no fixed shape. Amoeba has a finger-like projections called pseudopodia, which is also known as the false feet. It helps in their movement and to capture the food particles from the surroundings. So, the amoeba produces two pseudopodia or false feet around the food particle and then surrounds it. The two pseudopodia then join around the food particle and trap the food particle with a little water, forming a food vacuole inside the amoeba. The food vacuole is just like a temporary stomach of amoeba, and the food is then digested in food vacuole. But how this happens? Let us know. The surrounding cytoplasm, it secretes digestive enzymes into the food vacuole. And the digestive enzymes then break the food particle into simpler substances. In this way, the food gets digested. This digested food present in food vacuole is absorbed directly into the cytoplasm by the process of diffusion. Soon after the absorption of food, the food vacuole disappears. The absorbed food is then used for the production of energy, maintenance, and growth of the amoeba. Though amoeba has no fixed place like anus for removing the undigested food, but when a considerable amount of undigested food is collected within its body, then its cell membrane suddenly ruptures or breaks at any place, and the undigested food is thrown out from the body of the amoeba by the process of egestion. In this slide, the whole process is described very properly, so you can go through it, which will at least help you to understand. But remember, the similarities and the differences between amoeba and human is that first, in case of similarity, that is, they both have the digestive juices which break down the complex food particles into simpler substances. But the difference is that the amoeba has no mouth and no digestive system, whereas a human being has a mouth and a digestive system which is made up of many organs. Hope the chapter Nutrition in Animals is clear to you all, and this entire explanation will at least give you an idea about the feeding habits in humans, ruminants, and the unicellular organisms. So, with this, the slide presentation ends here. Thank you.